Hello everyone and welcome to Victoria's Cantina. Today we're having a look at the Family Dollar exclusive Star Wars 6-inch Han Solo, Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, and Kanan Jarrus. Alright you guys, so this is something new. Previously Hasbro has not released 6-inch 5-point of articulation figures in the US. They had a wave that was released for The Force Awakens internationally. I found these at Family Dollar. They retail at $5.99 a piece. I've also heard of them being found at Dollar General. Even though I knew they weren't going to be anything fancy, I got curious, so I stopped at a local Family Dollar, and lo and behold, they had all 4 of them that are currently available, so I went ahead and picked them up. Now, just as a disclaimer, these probably are not going to be the sorts of figures that most collectors are going to have any interest in. It's kind of when you think about the super articulated Black Series figures compared to the 5-point of articulation Saga Legends or Mission Series. That's kind of what we're dealing with here. These are very basic figures that don't have a lot of detail and don't have much of articulation, but nonetheless I think they're going to be pretty fun, so I wanted to go ahead and get them reviewed. As you can see from the packaging on these 4, it's different than anything we typically see. Basically the figures just kind of sit inside this little tray that they come in, and they're tied in with some elastic bands, some tape. They're pretty secure in there, though. I don't really like that they're exposed like this, but you know, it is what it is. These are budget figures. The back of each one also has a pretty nice look at each of the characters, and I mean, for the most part, it really isn't too bad. These are all done in the Force Awakens line look, so the coloring is like the red and black with the white Star Wars lettering. And you can see Kanan right here. It has a little description on each one. A Jedi Padawan who survived the destruction of the Jedi Order, Kanan kept his past a secret until he joined a group of rebels dedicated to resisting the Empire. And shows you a look at the other 3 that are available in this wave. And Han Solo, he's restrained in there, comes with a gun. There's an image of him there. At the back it says, promise to hefty reward to help rescue Princess Leia from the Death Star. Han Solo is swept up in the rebellion against the Empire. Nice portrait of good old Han there. If you see at the bottom, here's Luke right here. Convinced he can turn his father away from the dark side of the Force, Luke Skywalker surrenders to Darth Vader and is brought before the Emperor. And then last but not least, we have Vader. And pretty cool image from Revenge of the Sith. At the back it says, Darth Vader is a ruthless agent of the dark side, but Luke Skywalker believes a good man still lives beneath the Dark Lord's mask. So I'm going to go ahead and get these 4 out of the packaging, and then we'll take a closer look and see what they're like. Alright you guys, and here they are out of the packaging. And basically what you see is what you get. These are very, very simplified figures. Now that doesn't mean that they're bad by any means. It just means that they're very simple and they're targeted toward a different audience than you and me. Let's go and take a look at them one by one, starting with Kanan Jarrus. What I like about Kanan is that his likeness is very much as he appeared in Star Wars Rebels. Just all around, this looks a whole lot like the character design. It's sculpted very nicely, and in a way it almost looks like it just jumped out from the cartoon TV show. A nice job with the coloration. Of course, there's not a whole lot of detail going on, but in Rebels there's not a whole lot of detail anyway, so very simplistic, but I do think that it looks quite good. And I'll give you a close-up here of his head so you can see how nice of a job they did with him. The paint is very clean, and that's true on all of these figures, but especially so on Kanan. It just looks very nice. I will note that these are very lightweight. I mean, these almost feel hollow. In terms of articulation, you get 3 points here. You get a swivel here at the head, and then you get swivels at both of the shoulders. And that's all you're going to get for Kanan. It looks decent. Again, not Black Series quality, but adequate enough for something you might find at the dollar store. In terms of accessories, you get 2 of them with Kanan. Firstly, his lightsaber hilt is permanently affixed into his hand, but you can insert the blade and take it out. So it's a very nice shade of blue. It's got a little pin there on the end. And if you look at the lightsaber hilt, there's a little hole right there You're basically just going to plug it in like that. So, I mean, pretty much the same as the 6-inch Black Series. He also comes with a blaster, and pretty simplistic, but I like it. I mean, it does look a little cartoonish, but it's in line with the Rebels animation, so he holds his gun pretty well. And unfortunately, his holster is non-functioning. It's totally sealed, so you can't use it. The 3 3/4 inch Rebels Kanan looks very similar to the 6-inch Kanan. And I think what they did is they took the same digital model that they had for the 3 3/4 inch version and just scaled it up to 6 inches. Because, I mean, these look exactly the same. The bend in the elbow is exactly the same. If you look at the details in his pants, it's the exact same sculpt. So they just basically blew up this figure to make him the full-sized 6-inch Kanan. And for what it is, again, nothing spectacular, but it's got a very nice likeness, and I think it's pretty good. Next up, we have Han Solo. And I think the sculpt on Han is not bad. It's got a pretty good likeness. Again, very simplistic. And I mean, it ain't bad. It looks realistic enough in terms of proportions. The head might be a little bit large, but it works. They did a nice job making this look like Harrison Ford. You can see that it's painted very nicely. Behind his ears, there's a little bit of mispaint. Nothing terrible. They even got the little chin scar right there that he had from, well, you know, in real life. And I think it looks quite good. The color of his skin is pretty nice. I think that his hands might be a little bit darker, but they're still sculpted pretty well. You can see like some veins and definition in there, so that's kind of surprising. Rest of the costume, I did notice that the shirt down here looks a little bit of a lighter sort of color. It's a little bit more of a beige here for the sleeves. It's a little annoying, but you know, again, dollar store figures and all. The pants are very textured. I'm not too fond of that. I really don't like all this extra texturing, which, I mean, I know it's additional detail, but it's not film accurate, so it's just kind of a waste. The holster is also non-functioning like on Kanan. His boots look pretty nice. Again, quite textured to kind of give him a leathery look. That doesn't look too bad. And underneath, he does have peg holes. And the blaster is permanently attached into his hand, so you're not going to be getting that out. In terms of articulation, he does have a ball joint here at his head, unlike Kanan, which just had a swivel. So that's pretty nice. And you get swivels at both of these shoulders. And that's all you're going to get. And I'll go ahead and bring in the Black Series Han Solo. And you can see that the Family Dollar version is a little bit shorter, and the proportions are just a little bit different. I do think that the Family Dollar version, maybe it looks a little bit more natural in terms of proportion. I've always kind of felt like the Black Series Han's a little bit on the lanky side. But in terms of impressiveness, Black Series obviously takes the cake. Now, as with Kanan, I do feel that the 6-inch Han Solo here is basically the 3 3/4 inch version, just scaled up at a different size. The hair's a little bit different, but by and large, the figure does look very similar. This one's gun actually does come out of his hand, but it doesn't fit into his holster either. But you can also see this one has that sort of texturing on the pants. Perhaps it's not as obvious as on the 6-inch version, and then the boots are, you know, very glossy, but the similarities are uncanny. So all in all, I do like it for what it is, but you know, you are getting what you're paying for essentially, which is a $6 6-inch Han Solo figure. Next up, we have Luke Skywalker, and again, very nice proportions on the figure, and I think the coloring on it is quite nice. It's not too glossy, maybe a little bit glossier than it would have been in the film, quite obviously, but still looks quite good. Going to give you a close-up here of his head, and he's got his George Jones haircut going on. He stopped loving her today. And it looks pretty good. Again, I think that they did a good job capturing his skin tone, which is basically a tan color. The hand maybe looks a little darker than his face. The eyes are painted pretty nicely. It looks a little weird. He's got a little bit of a strange stare, but it's not too bad. The hair color is basically just like a sandy blonde, and it looks good. It's sculpted very delicately, but it's still pretty good. Rest of the costume, Jedi Knight outfit. His belt looks good. Lots of nice folds and creases in his sleeves and in his pants. I think the sleeves might be a little overdone, but it looks okay. Rest of the outfit, like the pants, are decent. You get some folds back here behind his knees, which are pretty realistic. Boots look good. It's got peg holes underneath. And in terms of articulation, you get a swivel here at the head. And you get swivels at both of the shoulders. And that's all you be getting here. And the lightsaber hilt is permanently attached into his hand. It's actually painted pretty nicely in my opinion. But like with Kanan, you can take out the blade. And in the box, it just comes positioned to the side of the figure. Blade color is actually very nice shade of green, pretty vibrant looking, very similar in terms of feel to the Kanan lightsaber. And you can see the little hole right there in the top of the hilt. And these are a little hard to get in, but there we go. Go ahead and bring you in a comparison with the Black Series 6-inch Luke. And you can see they're about the same size. I do feel that the proportions on the Family Dollar version are a lot more natural than on Black Series Luke. Black Series Luke is just a little bit too lanky. His thighs are a little bit too skinny. And just in going by sheer likeness, I think that the Family Dollar one is better. Give you a close-up here. I actually really do like this Black Series Luke figure, but I've never thought it had a really strong likeness. I always used to call this one Puppy Dog Luke because he's got those big eyes. And his hair, a little bit too dark in my opinion, skin tone's too light. But of course, you get a lot of articulation with Black Series Luke and the lightsaber blades. I like the more vibrant blade of the Family Dollar version as well. So as with Kanan and Han, they took the Saga Legends Luke and just scaled him up to do this 6-inch figure here. It looks very similar. If I give you a close-up here, you can see that the heads are essentially the same. Very, very similar here. Of course, the coloration on Saga Legends Luke is a little too pale. It's really washed out. Proportions look very much the same. You will see that he's got the little piece of the shirt flap, which the 6-inch version does not. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think they did a pretty nice job with Luke. Between Luke, Han, and Kanan, I think that I like Luke the best so far. And last but not least, we have Darth Vader. And Darth Vader, it's a little bit toy looking for sure. He is very lightweight, a little heavier than the other figures simply because he has the cape, which is a plastic cape. I mean, it looks okay. I mean, as far as the helmet goes, like from the profile there, the figure actually does look pretty nice. They did a nice job with the sculpt work. The cape looks quite good, very neutral. It's decent. You get the lightsaber, of course. But looking at the helmet, it does look a little bit odd. I mean, I actually don't think it's too bad, but the look of it just kind of gives a toyetic, plasticky sort of appearance to it. You can see he's got the red lenses in there. You're not going to get any additional paint here on his chest armor. You do get some paint detail on the chest box, of course, and on the belt, at least here for the buckle. The sides aren't painted. The details themselves are pretty soft in a lot of ways, but he does have nice texture in the arms and in the legs too. He's got the lower cape in here, which is attached to his legs. And the outer cape itself I actually like quite a bit. Gotta say, I think it's nicely sculpted, and it's not soft goods, which is cool. It doesn't seem like it comes off. It kind of feels like it's glued in, so I'm not gonna try and force it too much. As far as articulation goes, you get a swivel here at the head, and it is a little bit hard to move. It goes side to side, but not that much. You can swivel both of his arms like that, so you can do a forced choke, and then the right arm moves up and down. The lightsaber actually does come out entirely, which is surprising because Luke and Kanan's are just, the hilts are sculpted into their hands. This one actually does come out. Unfortunately, it is all black, so there's no extra paint detail on it like the other, like Luke's lightsaber especially. And it's got a very long red blade. It's a nice shade of red, but just to give you a comparison here, I'll bring in Luke, and look how much longer Vader's lightsaber is compared to Luke. Quite a bit longer. But he does hold it pretty nicely. I do like that it is removable. Now I'll go ahead and bring in the 6-inch Black Series Darth Vader, and you can see that the Black Series one absolutely dwarfs the Family Dollar 6-inch figure. And that's because the Family Dollar figures are literally 6 inches each. They're not really in scale with each other, whereas the Black Series line, of course, is scaled a lot better. So you have Vader, who's a little bit over 6 inches here. That's pretty daunting of a difference. You can see the physicalities are very different. I do think that the $6 one looks pretty good in terms of his pose, and he's in a neutral stance. When you compare them up close, I've never really been a fan of the Black Series Vader. I've just always felt that it's lacking. The helmet just doesn't look right. Even from the side, it doesn't look that great. In terms of that, I do think that the Family Dollar version probably has a little bit of a better helmet, maybe a little more movie accurate, but the details are just so soft that it ends up looking like a toy. I mean, again, at least from the side, it does look quite good. So yeah, you're going to get a lot of more detail here with the 6-inch Black Series version, but this one ain't too bad either. And once again, we'll go ahead and bring in the 3¾ Saga Legends / Mission Series counterpart, and you can see the physicalities on both of them are essentially the same. Of course, you get a soft goods cape on the Saga Legends Vader, but I like the plastic look. I think it drapes more to his body, but you can see that they're essentially very, very similar. The helmets are very similar in terms of sculpt work. The details on the chest are pretty much the same. He's not too bad. I do like him, but he's not all that impressive. He does look like a toy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so there you have it. These are the Hasbro Star Wars Family Dollar exclusive 6-inch figures. You got Kanan Jarrus, Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, and Han Solo. Overall, you guys, for the $6 price point, I think these are a very good deal. Once again, I know a lot of you are not going to have any interest in these figures, and that's okay. They're not really targeted toward you or toward me. They're meant for dollar store patrons who may or may not be able to afford the Black Series line, and that's cool. I'm pretty happy that Hasbro is making figures available to people who otherwise might not be able to afford them. And I'm not trying to generalize. That may be the case for some people, but not for others. My personal interest was that these are 6-inch figures for $6. Hasbro can't even give us a 3¾ scale figure anymore for $6. You want a 3¾ Force Awakens figures, you're going to pay at least $8. So the fact that they were able to do that is pretty remarkable. Yes, they're not the fanciest figures. They're very simple. They're very lightweight, very plasticky, very soft on the details, but they're also not too bad. So yeah, I'm all for Hasbro doing this if it means getting more figures out there to more people. I think that that's a good thing. It'll certainly help to keep the line growing as more kids will be able to enjoy Star Wars figures. And again, for what they are, I do like them. I think the sculpts on them are all very nice. In some regards, they do look a little bit better than the Black Series version, particularly Vader's helmet, as well as Luke's physique, I think is definitely better than the 6-inch counterparts. I think that out of the four, I would say that Luke Skywalker is my favorite. I just really like the sculpt on it. I think the proportions are nice, and the lightsaber is a very nice, vibrant green. So once again, if you're interested in picking these up, and you're not too concerned with getting Black Series quality, they're just kind of an odd little thing that you can add to your collection, and in that respect, I enjoy them. And this is also the sort of thing that if you didn't want to take your Black Series figures to work or what have you to put on your desk or whatever, you can probably pick these up and do that. I mean, they're nice to have on your desk, and they're cheap. So if something did happen to them, you're not really out a whole lot of money since they are only $6. I think these are great for kids just getting into Star Wars for the very first time. And again, even if you're an adult collector who appreciates these sorts of oddball figures, you're probably going to like them as well. All right, my friends, if you enjoyed this video, then I do encourage you to please like and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what you think about these figures, whether or not this is something you would consider picking up for your own collection. Be sure and follow me on Facebook and Twitter for the latest in news and updates. And as always, I do want to thank you for watching Victoria's Cantina. Till next time, my friends, bye-bye.